And if you think that like it gets sticky with the guys as far as who putts well in Bermuda or who plays well in Florida, it's like 2x sticky with the ladies. I mean, like if somebody is good in Florida, you want to bet those people, and Brooke is one of them. That she's definitely one of my picks for this week at the Hilton Grand Vacations Tournament of Champions, Pat.
So take Keith's advice. Bet the stickiest women you can find.
Yeah, I regret that.
Pat Mayo Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience. This is the final word on the 2026 Farmers Insurance Open Weather Best Bets, one and done, and an entire discussion about the course from readtheline.com. Keith Stewart joining me as usual. Would it be nice if I had hired someone to come stand behind you with a megaphone and loudly yell while you're trying to talk?
We're not going to repeat that this week, Pat, but my thanks to everyone that put up with it last week. It's fun to be in the SoFi Center, but there'll be no Roger Steele practicing his lines this week.
You should have told Roger, like, hey, beat it for 45 minutes. It'll be fine. You can do it after.
I saw him later when it was like influencer hour and they have all like the good people running around, like taping their content and everything. So I saw Roger and I was just like, hey, man, I was like, when you see the light up there and I'm recording something, you got to shut it down, pal.
What'd he say?
He said, yeah, Keith, I'll do that next time for you.
Well,
Roger's a great guy, but he's certainly not listening to the final word.
Well, he should be. Everyone should be listening to the final word. In fact, this is such a final word. I want to know who you are using in the one and done contest this week, the race for the Mayo Cup. I actually landed on Mav McNeely as my pick. I'm not betting him. I don't particularly like him, but one of the things that I try to utilize in one and done season is looking at the odds board, taking a look at the top 10 guys, and who do I think is going to be the least amount used in correlation with guys who's had success at either this course or come in with pretty good form. It just seems to me like no one's using Matt. Maybe I'm way off on that assumption, but that's what I'm going with.
It's pretty funny that you bring up his name this early because later on during Rapid Fire, Mav McNeely is going to rear his head again.
Really? Do you like Mav at this course?
I don't, but he has a great history. Well, we're talking about winners. I don't like him to win, but I think Mav's played very consistently here. And anywhere out there on the West Coast with his partner in crime, Captain Rogers, those two guys at a lot of these venues out there are very, very good. So I think it's a solid choice. And I also think it's someone that, as you mentioned, is not going to be the most popular pick.
He won't, and I don't, unless I'm Cust, who has predicted Mav to win the Open Championship this year. I do not believe that, so I am not going to be using him at the Open Championship. But where else am I really using Mav McNeely?
That's a very good question. I was thinking about that in my head. I was like, is there a place that I might actually use Mav McNeely that's not in the fall? And I can't think of one off the top of my head. But you know what? I'll have him saved after this week.
Yeah, you can deploy him at the Valspar or something like that. I always like him putting on the West Coast. He just finds the back of the cup always at these courses.
He definitely does. I mean, he's great out on the West Coast. And, I was thinking about the Valspar and the Valero and a couple other places while I was getting ready for this event. So let's get into it. This ought to be good. I love Torrey Pines. It's just a fantastic facility and a true test of golf for sure.
So tell me about the course. You were on site here last year, right?
I was for the Torrey Take 2. So I went out for the Genesis, the Tiger event that got moved from Pacific Palisades, from Riviera because of all the fires that Los Angeles, tragically had last winter. And I was really impressed by the facility itself. A lot of people talk down about the North course. They say it's that much easier and everything. But as I took some time. They only played the South that week, but I took some time to go over and study the North because I knew, for years to come, there'd be the Farmers, at least for one more year, I guess. But at that time, I thought for years to come, I would have to know as much as I could about both these golf courses. And it really is an impressive facility. I mean, it has got all like the brawn that you could want in a golf course. And when I say that, it's not always that things have to be big because, this is the longest course on the PGA Tour, but it has the 5th smallest greens. And that's really where the challenge comes into play. And they've had a really, really nice, early winter or late winter or wherever they sit right now in San Diego. I think it's like 75 degrees every day. So, but they've had a really nice growing season. So when I talk to the PGA Tour agronomists, they're very happy with where the rough is for this event. They feel like it's uh, accurately going to represent the test here. Vegas has the over/under for the final score at 13.5. So we've seen that time and time again. The average score over the last decade is about 13 under par. So the tour is very happy where things are, which means that the greens are firm, the rough is lush, and it's every bit of 7,800 yards.
So when you say that the rough is lush, they talk about this every year at this course. Yet when I find myself watching it, even on the South course, that guys spray the ball everywhere and they seem to be fine.
Well, it's because they spray the ball a lot further than they used to, and they're using a much more higher lofted club. And that's why we all lean towards so many guys that have power this week, especially on the South course. You just look at those complement of par threes. There's 8 of them between the 2 golf courses, and 7 of them are well over 200 yards. Power certainly plays an important role in the people that tend to finish and contend here on Sunday afternoon. So I think maybe at times a little bit of what you're watching is skewed because the best players in the field are the ones that you're seeing on TV. And those are the ones that are, getting it out of the rough because they're only missing the fairway so many times. I mean, I know what you're saying. We tend to see a lot of hero shots on TV, but overall, this is every bit of a US Open test. Like a B version of a US Open test. I mean, you really need to be able to put the ball in play here with some ball speed and be able to hold some greens from pretty much long distance.
So when we're trying to construct the type of players that we want here, you mentioned distance. I think that everyone is going to lean distance, although when you take a look at the scoring, most of that comes to fruition at the North course, that it feels like you can really bomb and gouge that place, especially on the easier par 5s. 3 of them have an eagle rate over 3%. So if you're really getting it down there, you can make those a little bit easier. Yet, when we see the final names on the leaderboard at the Farmers, this didn't play out so much with the Genesis, probably because there were just better players in that field, and Ludwig didn't get sick on the course. He just won the tournament that week. That Harris English, Max Homa, Patrick Reed, even Mathieu Pavon, who ended up winning here. These aren't big hitters. They're good tee to green players overall. They're good at harder courses. They play their long irons really well. Great short game. But these are the names that we're seeing at the top of the leaderboard when it comes to Sunday as the champion, not some random bomber, which I think that people get kind of confused about.
Well, I'm leaning heavily on strokes gained off the tee, but with the modern PGA Tour schedule, what it is, guys are very selective about where they choose to play, especially the signature players, because they just can't continue to play. I mean, most of them are going to play 2 out of the next 3 weeks, meaning AT&T and Genesis. If they love the festivities over there at Scottsdale, then they're going to join there. So now all of a sudden, if they didn't start their season in one of the first 2 events, they were waiting for this event because they feel like they play Torrey Pines South Course. So I feel like when you just start to filter for the basics of what it takes to win this golf tournament, whether it be strokes gained off the tee or long iron acumen and, 1 or 2 of putting on POA, you really have to start to dig a little bit deeper. And that's what I was writing about yesterday as I was putting all my thoughts together for, the Farmers this week and putting them on paper for Read the Line. It's like, it's not just so much that we like certain types of drivers. It's that we like guys that are right-handed that hit a fade, or that people that move the ball from left to right. They tend to find the fairway easier on the South course, and they're going to play that 3 out of 4 times. I'm sure they do on the North course as well, but we have the data on the South course in order to back that up. When we talk about long iron play, we don't just want guys that are really good with long iron shots. We want guys with a high apex. We want guys that launch it high up in the air. Why? Because the greens are very, very small, 5th smallest on tour. Not quite as small as Pebble Beach, but certainly smaller than the PGA Tour average. And then when it comes to, putting on Poana, it's not just good enough to say who can putt well on Poana, but it's more along the lines of who just makes a lot of putts inside 10 feet. Who are the people that show the most patience? And then, hey, historically, who are the people that putt well here at Torrey Pines? And not necessarily, I don't really look a lot at the U.S. Opens because it's almost completely different conditions, much like it is when they play one at Pebble. I just want to look at what it's like here in January when the guys are dealing with the elements more often than not. I mean, they're going to get a good week. This forecast looks pretty favorable for the guys. I mean, there'll be wind on the coast, but it doesn't look like any rain. It looks like the temperatures will be in the low 70s.
So let's try to work this out then. Let's take
Yeah.
all of the elements that you just talked about, and I'm going to go over to betspertsgolf.com, use the rabbit hole, code Mayo to go sign up. If you're a Fantasy National member, check your inbox. You'll get the login to the rabbit hole because you can do both sites now. So we can try to build this out together. And I'll even save this one if people want to go reference it a little bit later on. I just took the rounds from the past year, so the past 12 months, and we'll just work off that. Is that a good baseline, do you think, or should we go shorter, longer? What would it be to you?
I definitely always go shorter. I am
How
a big
short,
advocate for anything under, like, let's say, anything under 28. If I wouldn't go super tight right now because some of these guys, their
Don't have
rounds are going to go
rounds.
back to, all the way through the fall. I mean, there'll be players that go back to, the FedEx Cup playoffs. But I think 24 is a good number. That's where I would do it too.
Okay, we can do 24. We can go to rounds. We can go to months. I'll even put in, let's do the last 30 rounds over
30
the last
rounds in 6 months.
Yeah,
Do that.
30 rounds, 6 months. Well, I'll put it to 9 months because a lot of these guys simply just didn't play for 6 months, so we're not really getting any rounds from them. And something like driving, I do feel like can help us out a little bit more longer term, so you can know who the good drivers are. So I threw in strokes gained off the tee. You mentioned ball speed. That's something that I'm really factoring in this week as well. So should I add that as the column next to it, do you think?
No, I would put, can you filter for the trajectory of the ball left to right or high apex?
I can do apex, but I was going to put that next to the long iron play.
Okay, so then with driving, next to strokes gained off the tee, yeah, ball speed's fine.
All right, we'll throw in ball speed. Ball speed. Boom, we'll add that. So those are the two driving metrics we really want to look at right now, right?
Yeah.
And do we want, the one thing that we can filter by, and I don't know if you want to or not, is right miss tendency. That the guys who kind of suck at that, if they are missing to the right, seem to have a better time than guys who miss to the left.
Yeah, you would want to miss to the right here. You do
So-
you do not want to miss to the left.
So we can try that. We can try throwing that in, or just try to keep that in mind as we're going through it. Maybe that's a better way to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think more often than not, faders of the golf ball that are right-handed are going to have a right miss tendency.
Let's see. The best right tendency player on tour is Michael Brennan. Shockingly, would you have guessed that?
Not off the top of my head, but I don't have a ton of mental inventory on Michael Brennan. He's new.
He is. I actually don't hate him here this week. He got a little bit better at the American Express. He really struggled at Sony, but
Really struggled.
If it's a take your driver and swing away type course, that seems to be the type of course where he would play well, at least from what we saw. Like, not that Utah is a good comp here because you can just hit it wherever and just try to get lucky with the putting. I don't think that the top drivers in that field, though, I don't think will be entirely dissimilar to here.
Meaning Amex or Utah?
Utah.
It'd be similar. It's a little bit tighter of a landing area, but you just got to keep it out of the lava. If you put it anywhere green, then you're going to play well in Utah. It's not the most forgiving golf course, on tour, but I don't know. I hadn't thought about a correlation between those two places.
Well-
I actually think there's a decent correlation between Amex and here because the more accurate you are at Amex, the easier it is for you to score. So, definitely not Wailea, but, I mean, this is the type of place that's like Valero. It's like TPC Twin Cities. It's like you have to put the ball and play off the tee here as best that you can. I know that there's no penalty areas off the tee, but you have to put the ball in play in order to play well. And it seems like guys that are really, really good drivers of the golf ball tend to separate here. And if you look at that over the last decade or so or more, if you can really drive the golf ball, then you could play Torrey Pines South.
So approach 200 yards plus because that covers our par threes as well.
Yeah, I like that.
All right, and then we can put in apex height, which you were talking about.
Yeah, the elevation of the moon.
So reason Jason Day has done so well here is what you're saying?
That would be, John Rahm, guys like, guys that just absolutely launch it.
How do we explain Harris English? Do you think that was mainly conditions based last year, or is it just he plays well at long, hard courses?
Well, he has the golf game to fit long, hard golf courses, but it also was, I feel like it was very condition based last year because he just doesn't miss a lot. And last year was extremely tough.
So I'll go to strokes game putting and I'll put on Poana. And I will. Where do you? Should we just look at California, POA?
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely Cal POA.
All right. So we'll just put on
because we don't want Northeast POA. We don't want POA Trivialis. We don't want any of that. We want Seedhead POA.
So we'll go to POA and we'll click on that. I'm going to adjust that time frame to the past 4 years just so we get a good sample of the courses. Max Homa is your best putter, by the way.
I mean, that makes sense.
POA putting.
So won a few times in California.
He has. Almost like Rahm in a weird way. I think there was a streak where Rahm had at one point over a 4-year stretch where he'd come inside the top 10 of every single California course that he played on.
It's kind of strange that he was the one to do that. I mean, even college at Arizona State, I don't know how he would have gotten that much. Maybe it's because he's such a good ball striker and he's kind of like an average putter. So when you start to get on bumpy greens, Rahm just likes to hit the ball solid, roll it in from 6 feet and deal with the repercussions, but he's always going to ball strike it better than you. So that might have something to do with it. And, that was kind of Max's MO when he really had his game going.
So we have driving and approach, and now we have POA putting into the mix right now. What else do you think we should do? Should around the green be something that we overemphasize here? Or because of the longer grass and no shaved off areas, is around the green, meaningful to when you look at a chart after the fact? Do you think that being really good around the green is predictive here? Or is it like a US Open or Bay Hill where even some of the crappier guys can chip it to 8 feet because everyone chips it to 8 feet, not an inch?
Yeah, around the green is important here. And when it comes to the Denny McCarthys of the world, that's kind of how they make their hay. But for what we're looking for right now, I wouldn't go there next.
All right. So what is something else that you would throw in right now? Or do you like where we have it?
I would throw in par 5 scoring.
Okay.
And this is one of the few places where I'll do that. But the 3s and the 4s are so brutal that if you cannot score on scoring on the 5s is an edge. You're going to play a 4-day for 4 days. That's 16. And if you could get to 15 under par, you'd win the tournament. So, as much as you could take it, and a lot of the par 5s there are hard. So you have to be a skilled par 5 player, especially on the South course, because, I think 2 of them you really can't reach in 2 unless you're like uber long. So I kind of do look at par 5 scoring on this golf course.
So right now we have strokes gained. I guess I had strokes gained. Strokes gained total. I don't want that. I want strokes gained off the tee is what I want to look at. I do have strokes gained total in there as well, just to take a look at who's coming in pretty decent form. Then off the tee, ball speed, overall approach from over 200 yards, apex height, strokes gained putting on POA, and par 5 birdies or better. We getting close?
And 1 McDonald's coffee. Is that what that is there?
It's a tea. I drink I tried to start limiting the amount of coffee that I was drinking because I was drinking, I think, like 3 large Americanos a day. So just doing mainlining 20 shots of espresso. So now I just wake up, I have a cup of coffee, and then I switch to tea for the rest of the day.
Wait a second. The size is called an Americano, or the style of coffee is called an Americano?
The style is called an Americano. It's hot water with 4 shots of espresso.
Oh my goodness.
You've never had an Americano?
No, I'm not a coffee drinker, but I find it interesting that if I do have to take my wife or my daughter to Starbucks, that everything's like all the sizes are in a different language, and then you're up in Canada, and then you're calling things an Americano. It's just the irony there kind of makes me chuckle. Anyway, moving right along.
So
hit the model button.
All right. Well, we need to start weighting this stuff. So it sounds like you think that off the tee is the most important thing here. So should we rate that more than anything?
No, I approach and off the tee, both together.
All right, so we'll go 20% off the tee, 20% on those approaches from over 200 yards. We can put apex height in at 10, and we can put ball speed in at 10 to give us a better sense of some of those guys as well. It's probably going to give us similar types of player. That strokes gained total, the recent form, we'll put at 15%. That gives us 25% left. You want to go 15% on putting, 5 or 10% on par 5s, or reverse that?
No, definitely go heavier on putting. I like what you said.
So 15 on 100%. Par 5s, 10 on. I'll save that as an expert report, and we'll call this Torrey, Mayo, and Keith. If people want to go see this from the model that we built on the show, it'll be saved up on betspertsgolf.com inside the rabbit hole. And if you click on expert models, you can pull this one up if you want to. Let's see some results for this right now. I probably should have done this on the screen. Jake Knapp is your best player, followed by Xander, Ludwig, Nikolai Højgaard, and my main man, Pearson Cootie.
I mean, I've seen that report, something similar to it. I know where I'm going. And a lot of those names right there are playing very well right now. I mean, that right there is a pretty healthy card.
And it's not bad. All 5 of those guys, when you have your cumulative total out of 100, all 5 of those guys rank over 80. So it's 81 for Pearson Cootie and a half, I suppose. Jake Knapp is at 84. The next 5 guys, Keith Mitchell, Michael Brennan, Potgieter, Adam Scott, and Chris Goddard.
Yeah, you got a lot of ball speed influence there. So the report I've been looking at, and I replaced ball speed with left to right, ball flight trajectory. And a lot of those guys still pop, but you don't get Potgieter. You definitely get Goddard. But some of those guys drop out, and then you're replaced with guys like Spawn, Pendrith, Bradley. Like those guys jump into the mix.
So a few other names as we start going down. Harris English pops up there. Matt McCarty still rates out really well. I went back to my guy McCarty last week, and he cashed his each way at 25-1 with the second place finish. Couldn't quite run down Scotty, but it's tough to run down Scotty.
I mean, going into Sunday, I had 5 outrights in the top 13, and we never had a chance. So
I disagree. Siwoo had a chance if he had made his putts in the first 5 holes, because then he's up by 3 and he's not down by 1.
Oh well, yeah.
He had his chance. Like he had birdie putts from 10 feet on all of these holes and made 1.
Yeah, ifs and buts, Pat. I mean, it wasn't even good enough for government work at that point, and the guy just mowed us down. So, hey man, horse kicks me once, horse's fault. He's not kicking me twice this year. I mean, I had Gerard finish second, and he was in the Scotty market. If I put him in a without Scotty market, I probably still get 45-1 on him. So I'm frustrated with myself that I thought that we all talked ourselves into the fact that we could get past Scotty because it was week 1 on a John Rahm putting contest.
Hey, look, listen, John Rahm has won that tournament before. He also lost to Andrew Landry at one point too. So I'm good with the Scotty fade. Listen, Scotty can win by 8. He can win by 1. It's still a loss to Scotty. Most times I don't think he ends up winning that tournament. So next year when he plays it, I'll bet against him again unless he lost his leg or something like that. I don't know. The other guys above 70 in this are Penge, Thorbjornsen, Jesper Svensson, and Sam Stevens is another one. And a few of these names have started to populate on my betting card as well. Then we're into the guys that you talked about: Pendrith, Cam Young, McNeely, Hoey's been bad, man.
Yeah. You have to have some. Well, I guess I can't say that because Finau's been great here and he can't putt at all. But I can't answer why Hoey's been off.
It's just he's been off to start the season. I don't think anyone really expected that. The best POA putters in the field: Homa, Malnati, Shank, McCarthy, Harris English, Sahith, Akshay, Pearson Cootie, Valimaki, McNeely, Novak, S.H. Kim. This could be a decent S.H. Kim course again, I think.
Oh, yeah, definitely. If you can find his name on the betting board spelled out in full, then you absolutely should put him in some form of replacement. I think he's a good lower tier DFS play. I mean, I think S.H. Kim, he's playing really well right now. When S.H. Kim is playing well, he's a good long iron player, good long range player, and he's also a very good putter. So, I mean, both of those things are really going to help you here.
So trying to think about the bets that we can take away from this. The one name that popped up is kind of lower in the model because he putts well on California POA, which is always nice to see. But in that Harris English ilk, he's won here before, which is really nice. But Justin Rose keeps slipping down the betting board. Is it too early in the year for Justin Rose? Because he's that other type of player that we talked about that, he doesn't necessarily hit it the highest in the world, but he is good with his long irons. He has a short game. He makes those 9-foot putts when everyone else is missing putts, and he's probably going to keep it in the fairway a lot of the times. So this could be everyone's on day. Maybe the look would be to Rose for 3 times the price.
Hey, I've sat in too many press conference rooms over the last 2 or 3 years to hear Justin Rose say that he's preparing himself for bigger events. And that's not to say that the planets couldn't align this week, but I am sure that he is looking at this event like it's a warm-up and not like it is the Masters again, or the Players, or an event like that where he's going to give it all that he has. I would believe that he would be the type of player that knows how to pace himself in his mid-40s and that he'd still be working on things in order to get himself in shape for the 2 signature events, and then you got Bay Hill with the Players back-to-back, and then ramp up again for Augusta. So I would just be wary of going after Justin Rose when he's in this stage of his career where he's really picking and choosing where he wants to try his hardest.
Underdog's expanding the game. You already know their player picks. Pick higher or lower on player stats. Today, Underdog prediction markets are live in 25 states. Back your squad with spreads, handicap for closer game, or totals, higher lower combined score, combined with player picks for bigger payouts. New customers play $5 on fantasy, get $75 in fantasy bonus entries. Code Mayo. Team picks, player picks, all on Underdog. Eat better, train smarter. Maybe stop pretending frozen mystery meat is good enough. And honestly, starting strong is the easiest way when the food doesn't suck to get yourself ready to start the new year. That's where Omaha Steaks comes in. Premium, perfectly portioned protein shipped straight to my door. No guessing, no waste, just legit quality that actually fuels what you're trying to do. I loaded up on their USDA certified tender steaks and gourmet burgers, threw a couple fillets on the grill, which is out my back door, and there's not that much snow, so I can access it pretty easily. Salt, pepper, done, instantly tender. Way more flavor, better texture, zero stress compared to anything I've really cooked before. Let Omaha Steaks deliver high-quality proteins right to your door. Visit omahasteaks.com and get an extra $35 off with promo code MAYO at checkout. That's OMAHA steaks.com, promo code MAYO. Terms apply. See site for details. Brooks is back on the scene. What do you project for him to do? Because it feels like the range of outcomes for him is everywhere this week. And you can bet him minus 200 to make the cut. You can bet him plus 150 to miss the. I don't think the miss the cut bet is a terrible bet.
I don't think so at all. I think this is a tough place. It's almost like if you're an astronaut coming in and you're coming back in for reentry and you don't hit the water and you hit land instead. I mean, Torrey's a tough place. Now, that's not to say that Brooks isn't a prototypical U.S. Open style player, but things need to be firing right now. And a bunch of these guys have played a couple weeks already, and they know where they stand. And Brooks has had a lot of distractions, albeit maybe they don't bother him. But at the same time, I just feel like he is going to take his time with all of this focus and everything and just kind of work his way and do the things that he wants to do, which is win major championships. So again, much like Rose, I think Brooks this week, I'm not going to say wait and see, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if he missed the cut. He's got to shoot a couple under par. And you have to be pretty sharp to do that, especially on the South course, which could eat you up pretty quick. The weather works in his favor, but the last couple of years does not.
No, but he will be in a featured spot on ESPN this week.
I mean, ESPN. How many golfers? And this is where it's kind of crazy, and the impact of what Brian Rolapp has done by just letting Brooks walk right back onto the tour. If anyone doesn't know Brian Rolapp's background, he built the media giant that is the NFL. He was their media guy. Now, all of a sudden, Brooks is back, and we're getting 4 extra hours, 2 a day on ESPN, which is something that hasn't happened in 20 years. They're supplanting Pat McAfee at his monopoly on noontime every day during the week, during like Super Bowl preemptive coverage, and we're putting Brooks on. It's unbelievable what this is doing for the tour. Another reason why I think that everything that's circling around Brooks leads us to believe that it's going to be tough for him to just show up and play, Brooks Koepka style golf. We'll see moments of it, but I think overall, comprehensively for the week, it's going to be very, very difficult. But I mean, the fact that we're getting 4 more hours of ESPN coverage and everything else, it tells you exactly where the tour stands on all of this and what they're ready to do.
Brooks Ludwig and Max Homa are playing together, going off at 12:30 local or 12:30 Eastern time at the South Course. So we're going to get the full round from them. They're back at the North Course on Friday at around 1:40 p.m. Eastern time. Now, normally we don't get a lot of good coverage from the North Course. That crew is going to be out following that group.
Oh yeah, that group might have ShotLink on the North Course, Pat.
Let's not go crazy, Keith. Come on now.
I know. It's a little hyperbole, but I still can't believe they just booted McAfee. And then they had McAfee announce it, of all things, for ESPN, which that part makes sense. But This is classic. I mean, this is interesting when it comes to live for sure.
Well, what do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, that's a major hit, right? If of all the talk that surrounds those other guys aren't moving, we know that, right? But all the talk that surrounds Bryson, who is their biggest star here domestically, he kind of has given it like, I'll take it or leave it. Patrick Reed wins this weekend, and he's like, yeah, I don't need to play there. I'll play wherever someone wants me to play. I'm ready to play. Um, it's funny how the narrative has so quickly changed now that people see a pathway back. And, a lot of the foreign stars, they just don't care, and they're getting paid exorbitantly to do this. But domestically, this has been a nice shot in the arm for the PGA Tour. And as we now ramp into Scottsdale, Super Bowl, then you've got AT&T into Tiger's event. Tiger seems to be around, right? And, where we go from there, I mean, I think that there's some nice ramping up here for sure. I mean, last year was an incredible year for golf. And right now, things are percolating even more than they were this time last year.
Brooks means more to the PGA Tour than he ever did for LIV, was always the thing. Like, I don't think that LIV suffers at all by losing Brooks. It's just the PGA gains by getting Brooks back.
Yeah, it's a net positive on our side, and on their side, it
Well,
didn't
this
really
isn't
matter.
this isn't a us versus them type. For you, it might be. For me, it's not. Listen, I'll bet LIV. I'll watch LIV. It's fine.
So you're the guy that does watch it.
I do. I am the one. It's me.
You're
I'm like
LIV,
Highlander.
you.
There can be only one. That is LIV's mantra.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. People want to talk about the Farmers.
If they want to talk about Brooks, people listen, if they're preempting McAfee and putting this on ESPN during the day, people want to talk about Brooks. If he shows anything this week, are you gung ho to bet him next week?
Oh boy. I mean, that's his place, and I tell you this much. There is going to be some crowd action in Scottsdale. I mean, Scottsdale itself alone, I mean, they get fired up for Zach Johnson. I mean, if Brooks walks in to Thunderdome on Thursday and he is under par, whether he started on the front or the back, I mean, the roof is going to come off that building. I've been in there many, many times, and it is quite the spectacle. Hey, as far as I'm concerned, Brooks is one of those guys that makes our life a lot more fun. So by all means, I hope he makes the cut this weekend. And I hope that, we're putting him on during coverage, and that I'm looking at him as somebody that like gets matched up with a guy like Matthew Pavone. And I'm like, oh man, Brooks and Matthew Pavone on the first tee. I'm going Brooks head to head there. I've got favorable odds. Let's roll with this, because he just came back. I think Brooks is one of the few guys, maybe not in an outright sense, but in a live betting sense, you could certainly take advantage of. I'm excited Brooks is back, to be quite honest with you. It'll be fun.
I'm trying to find the 72 hole betting. I guess they just released the tee times as we're talking about this. They haven't put it out yet. But
here's the thing. The last 2 weeks, so last week I was down at TGL. This week Joe was there. We talk to each other all the time because we're covering the Simulator League, and there's a ton of steam. They were trying to get a Brooks deal done for him to play next week, where they play the Atlanta Drive. Jupiter Links does, for the Jupiter Links team. Have Brooks join them. And there was a ton of steam behind that. They just couldn't get it all done in time because he's traveling and he's playing these next 2 weeks. But I would not be surprised if you see him inside there as well as the 16th at, WNPO. Everyone's jumping on the bandwagon, and the guy driving it is Brooks, of all people. He is now become, the flag bearer. He's got the baton for the PGA Tour, which is the irony in there. I mean, as me being a longstanding traditional golf guy, it's absolutely fantastic.
I'm sure what Brooks really wants to do with his life is play in the fucking TGL. I'm sure he loves that.
I don't know. Remember when Tiger started to like actually talk to people and smile when he got in his late 30s and early 40s?
When he wasn't good anymore.
Yeah, well, like Brooks, it's like he turned over a new leaf or something. I don't know. This is classic. Guys like doing bro hugs with Billy Ho on the range and everything. I mean, we're getting full coverage of everything. I mean, you know me. I love organized chaos. right? I love when it's just you just don't know what's going to happen with some of these storylines and everything. So I'm all for this. I am all in. I love goldfish. Get myself a Diet Coke or Coors Light or something, man, and I'm pretzels. I'm in. I'm all in for the whole weekend. I'm ready to go.
I'm looking at the head-to-head market on coolbet.com right now. If you're in Canada, outside of Ontario, play on Coolbet. Hit the description, get yourself a bonus while you're at it. Why wouldn't you get a bonus? The fastest payouts in the biz. Super Bowl coming up too. And we'll get to it in a little bit later on, but I do have a boost up there this week on a player, giving him the best number in the world you can bet. So you probably want to do that if you agree with me that he can win this tournament. But I'm looking at the guys right now who could be paired up with Brooks in a head-to-head. We're thinking Noren, Wyndham Clark, either of the Højgaards, Sam Stevens. These are the guys in his full tournament matchups that you can bet. I would probably play almost all those guys against him.
100%. I mean, Wyndham Clark would find out real quick what it's like to wear a tight shirt real quick. I mean, put those two head to head on Saturday morning or something like that and let him find out what it's like. I mean, welcome to the maelstrom, son. Let's go. I'm like I said, I'm all in for it. I just, there's no reason for us right now to start slapping down units on him at 55-1 or whatever Brooks is sitting at as the market fluctuates. But, it's as we get a little glimpse into how he plays the South on Thursday, then the North on Friday. There's a good chance he could be part of the Read Lines Friday 5, and we'll just go right after it and see what happens.
And you can get all of that on readtheline.com from you. You get it directly into your email. It's perfect. I love it. I guess the problem with Brooks is if you don't get ahead of his odds won't be good for very long. If he shows anything this week in Phoenix, he'll be 22-1 next week.
Well, that is true. Are we going to get Scotty in that field?
Maybe. I don't know.
So maybe the number goes up a little higher. That's all. That was my only point in bringing that up. Again, Brooks almost has more major wins than he does regular PGA Tour wins. So, is he going to turn over a new leaf and suddenly be grinding, over the Farmers Insurance Open or the Cognizant? He has to play 15 events this year. What would you set the odds right now, Pat, that of those 15 regular season events that Brooks, basically is slated to play this year, what do you think his chances are of winning one of them?
His chances to win one of them? 30%?
Yeah.
If he plays John Deere and he plays the CJ Cup and all those events.
I mean, if a reasonably good Brooks on a Jake Knapp PGA National is a pretty interesting, that's a pretty interesting bet in about a month, especially when the guy's gearing up for major season. I don't like him on the back end of major season, but anywhere in the mix of that 100-day war that the 4 biggest events take place, I think if he just rolls up to Colonial and he feels like he has to play there, all of a sudden you're just looking at a guy that you're like, man, this is a guy that nobody wants to play next to on Sunday afternoon.
Looking at some of the head-to-heads right now that are up on the slate, there's one that I really like. It's Cootie over McCarty, and it's -110. But what I found really interesting is Knapp is +103 against a -128 Wyndham Clark. Yet, when you take a look at the outright odds, Knapp is 40-1 and Clark is 50-1.
Oh, I love Jake Knapp this week.
I do too. I can't get there at 40-1 though. That's a bit too steep.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like Wyndham Clark could win 2 events in a row and he'd still be 50-1, and Wyndham Clark couldn't have won for a year and he'd still be 50-1. It's just, he's an enigma to me sometimes on the odds board, but people are going to be geared up for him. They're going to make the AT&T comparisons where he won in 3 rounds. Again, that was 3 rounds. He set the course record on Saturday. It's easier to do that than it is to close on a Sunday. I don't know. Wyndham hasn't looked very good in the Dome, which makes me feel like that should be like a place where you should be super comfortable.
Maybe he was all right at Amex until 5 holes into his final round.
Yeah, I don't know.
You're out on Wyndham.
I like Knapp over Clark there. I'm with you.
Okay, what about Zalatoris? Because Zalatoris is back. He closed very strongly in the final round at the Amex. He got himself through the cut. We're still kind of wondering where his game is at right now. His odds have been crushed. People are betting on him this week. In his head-to-head, he is a -120 favorite over a -105 Alex Noren right now. I get that Noren missed the cut at the Amex. This feels to me more like an Alex Noren course. Not that it's not a Zalatoris course. Of course it is. But I just don't want to believe, I want to see him at a course that demands his best driving. The Amex isn't that. Like, you hit your 3-wood off the tee. Do whatever you want. You need to be able to pound driver like he used to be able to. Can he still do that?
I want to see a golf course that demands Will Zalatoris' best body. That's what I'm interested in. Because going to the Amex and slapping it around through, an inch and a half of overseeded rye, you and I could do that and still hit the green. That's not that hard. But to go here where all of a sudden, he's going to be in 4-inch lush rough and have to hit a medium to long iron, that's going to put some serious torque on his body. And I still wonder about that. We were all pretty surprised when he went back in for surgery after he had the first major surgery. I mean, none of us saw that coming out on the road. And then all of a sudden he was just like gone, like Kaiser Soze. So I was like, wait a second. This guy's fighting it again. And, I knew him as a junior golfer. So like all of that side bend through impact and everything, and the way that he was torquing his body at the size of his body wasn't really a recipe for long-term, health and, success on the PGA Tour. And it certainly did fall apart. But a test like Torrey on your body, I'd have to wait and see on Zalatoris. I would certainly take Noren's short game there. And of course, if anyone hits it left or right off the tee, it's Alex Noren.
Siwoo Kim, another guy who hits it left or right off the tee.
Yeah. Yep. Siwoo Kim. Sometimes, Siwoo, man.
Sometimes it's not great for Siwoo.
Yeah.
I will contend that going in, even in that final round, he didn't make his putts, then he went full ejecto mode. But if there's someone I want head-to-head with Scotty, he is the right type of guy that I would want, because he can just go so low out of nowhere that at basically what Scheffler did to everyone in the field when he just started sticking everything to a foot on his approaches. Siwoo is also a guy who can do that. So if you want someone to go head-to-head with Scotty, it would be a Siwoo type who's like a 62 or 78 waiting to happen.
I mean, you and I have said this time and time before. If you're going to play Pete Dye golf courses, you have to play them aggressively. And then people say, well, Keith, then you're taking on all the trouble. Well, yes, but then you get the best angle for the hole locations. And Siwoo's that type of guy. It's the same type of player you want to go against Scotty, a guy that's going to play his own game and play super aggressive. Whether he has it that day or not, they are going to pound that round peg into that square hole. And Siwoo's going to do that. It didn't work out on Sunday. I still felt very good about it, like you did. We're texting about it. We're like, this is the type of guy we want to go do it. It's just the same old with Siwoo with the putter. But I would have done it again that way. I'm not sure that this golf course is as good a fit for Siwoo, especially putting inside 10 feet with a lot of bumps.
I would tend to agree with you. I want him more where he can utilize that like 150 and in range, where he can just attack pins and get it to 5 feet, just because he's going to take all of them on. What happens if you try to take on pins at this course?
Well, you're going to end up in long rough around the green, and then you're going to be fighting to make 6 to 8 footers on bumpy POA in order to save par and keep yourself close. The thing is that if you are one of those guys like an Alex Noren or a Denny McCarthy or these guys that can scramble and keep themselves close, because this is a US Open venue, you're going to be there. If you're going into the final round and you're near double digits under par, you could catch lightning in a bottle, or you could catch a bad weather day like Brandt Snedeker did that one day, and you hit it perfect. Then you could win this thing. So it's one of those golf courses that's going to keep the field bunched up, top 65 in ties. So say 70 guys make the cut. Average cut line here over the last decades, like 2 under par. The leaders will probably be somewhere in that like 8, 9, 10 range. So now you've got 70 guys within 10 shots. I mean, that's a pretty tight pack right there. At that point over the weekend, you've got 36 holes on a very, very difficult golf course, and you can roll the rock and get up and down and save momentum in your rounds. I mean, you give yourself a chance if that's the route that you want to build your betting card with.
There's a really nice tee time here if they are truly going to follow around Brooks. So Ludwig, Brooks, and Homa all playing together. The next group is Xander, Spawn, and English. Then there's like a dud next group with Andrew Putnam and Matt Wallace and Dylan Wu. But then you get Rasmus Niergaard Peterson, Johnny Kiefer, and Justin Hastings. I've bet on Johnny Kiefer this week.
Ooh.
I think this course sets up well for Johnny Kiefer. I don't know if he can do it or not, but skill-wise, if he actually is the player he's been promised to be, and sometimes it takes a guy like Scotty 2.5 years to figure out who he is. Maybe Kiefer will never figure that out he won't get to the Scotty level, but just to get to the best version of himself. I do feel like his game sets up really well for this course.
It definitely does, and we're starting to see a little bit of signs of life. I was there back at Sony. I was not there last week, but he seems to be trending in the right direction, which is what we'd like to see from the young star. And by the time he gets to something like Cognizant, then you could see him start to really hit his stride with some of those events there, the events, in between the players and the Masters, where he could start to play a couple in a row and really, really gain some momentum. So I don't mind the Kiefer play this week. There's just some other guys that have a little bit more seasoning that drive the ball really, really well that kind of catch my attention more so than Kiefer does.
Well, let's hear him. Who are you betting on this week?
We talked about Knapp a bunch. I like Sam Stevens.
He is one of the 4 people I've bet on this week. So
yeah, I like Sam Stevens. Oklahoma State product. Kid's he's a really elite driver of the golf ball. And when you look at the places where he's done really, really well on the PGA Tour, he's got like 3 runner-ups. He's done it at places where you have to drive the ball really well, like a Valero. And it seems like he can use his driver when it allows you to separate. He tends to separate with it. And to me, this is definitely one of those places. Walking that golf course. I mean, TV doesn't do it justice with how much the elevation kind of like rolls with the coast there. You see those kind of like chasms and valleys in between some of the different fairways, but like the fairways themselves, there are no level lies. You're right there on the edge of the ocean. There you go, the famous like 13th hole, the par 5, the way it goes down and then back up. I mean, there's a lot of holes with a lot of movement. And, if you're putting the ball in play and you're super, super confident with your driver, like he can be, in the middle of the board, I like a guy like Stevens.
So I have him at 45-1. He's on my card. It's funny that you mentioned 3M a little bit earlier. You mentioned Valero. I actually made a short comp list of courses, not for the higher end guys, because the higher end guys don't play in these tournaments. But if you're looking for someone in the middle tier or long shots, and I hit a big top 40 parlay last year together with this same sort of method of who does well at what courses. Torrey Pines weirdly kind of correlates along with Houston, Puerto Rico, Mexico, CJ Cup, Detroit, and the 3M. All those courses, because those courses are way easier, obviously, but they do require you to pull out driver. And if you drive it well, you're going to have a good week. And if you just see a bunch of different names pop up at some of these courses, it's pretty good. Like Carl Phillips, Davis Riley, Kevin Roy would be another one that I wouldn't necessarily, I'm not betting all of these guys to win the tournament, or Matty Schmidt would be another one that I want to find ways to utilize those guys to my advantage this week.
Yeah, it surprises me somebody like JJ Spawn hasn't had more success there, the way he drives the golf ball. But near the top of the board, a name like that, Jason Day, obviously he's hot. He's had a ton of success there. But, I mean, this could be, if we are really going to have a career year from Cam Young, this is a good fit for him. He's been sitting on the sidelines for a long time, and this is the type of place where if his putting from 2025 has really caught up with his early career ball striking, these are the type of places that he would dominate. Somewhere where he could really take over with his driver and, launch the ball super high, uber high with his long irons, and then make some putts. I mean, that's a perfect fit for him at the top of the board for me. I mean, like, what are your thoughts on Xander?
It's funny that I've done 3 of these shows talking about the Farmers, and I may have mentioned Xander's name once. Just, I have no interest in his odds. I think that he should be good. He rates out well. He's a local guy. Maybe do you find that the home course or hometown guy tends to struggle a lot in these events? And I've always tried to figure out why that might be the case. And I kind of came to a 2-pronged conclusion here. Is one, I always remember this with Ryan Palmer at the Colonial, because that's his home course. Like, oh, you got to play Ryan Palmer. Is that when he normally plays the courses, it doesn't necessarily resemble how it looks in the PGA Tour event when you have grandstands around that and you don't get the certain kicks when there's not certain things there or guys are walking on some part of it. So it's a little bit foreign to you despite you playing it all the time. And two, what is the situation with players when it is a hometown event? Are they getting tickets for friends and having to coordinate all that stuff? Because it felt like for a while, Xander just was overwhelmed and couldn't get to the best version of himself playing in this tournament. Yet, I think now that he's a two-time major champion, and he probably has like managers to do all this shit for him, that he can probably just relax and play the golf course.
I'm going to go twofold, and both of them are off the golf course. I think the players set very high expectations for themselves, and that's like a huge trap. That's number one. And number two, I see it at Sea Island all the time. And the reason that the Sea Island guys don't play well there is because they're hosting people all week. It turns into like, that's like, oh, yeah, I need tickets for this. I've got an obligation with my family. Oh, my agent's in town. He wants me to go to this party. Whereas when they're just at a random event, well, first of all, majors, nobody touches anybody, right? But like, if they're just at a random event and they're across country from their family and their friends and everything, then they can just focus on the event. And you need to do that on the modern PGA Tour. You need to be totally locked in. And it's really tough to be locked in if, like, the night before your opening round, you're kicking people out of your house at 11:30 at night and you're like, man, I just want to go to bed. And like, it's just really hard to find your routine. It sounds crazy when you're sleeping in your own bed and there's a tour event in town that week. It helps if you're cognizant and there's a zillion guys that live in Jupiter, but when you're at these satellite places where not a lot of tour pros live, I think it becomes a challenge more off the golf course, and it just becomes a distraction, and that's why we see it.
I think that makes a ton of sense to me. My final betting card, and I might adjust this, and here's what I got so far. I'll put the final results in the Mayo Media newsletter. That's completely free to join. You can also get it on BetSportsGolf.com. You and I will both have picks in Golf Digest as well. And I'm doing a live show 8 p.m. Eastern time Wednesday evening. So tonight, and I will have the absolute final betting card. Maybe I'll have another one of those top 40 parlays. But these are the 4 that I have plus 2 fun ones. And I want you to sell me on some other guys because I want to make some more bets. I bet Cam Young at 24-1. If you go to coolbet.com right now, hit that PME exclusives tab. You can find him at 26-1, Keith. I believe 26-1 is the best number you'll find in the world.
The best I found down here is 25, and I bet it.
I got him at 24 and 26. You got him at 25, so we're both on Cam Young. Sam Stevens is next for me at 45. Nikolai Højgaard for me at 66. It was the first bet I made this week. And then Johnny Kiefer, 125-1 with 8 places. The other two, hilarious ones that I did Potgieter at 225-1 with 8 places, and Crazy Carl Phillips, Captain Phillips, 350-1 with a top 8 to go along with him as well. He won in Puerto Rico last year. He showed some life last week as well. Obviously, he played in California in college. He's a big hitter off the tee. If he can utilize his driver and the rest of his game starts to come back around, I think this could be a really nice spot for him.
Carl Phillips to come back.
Crazy Carl.
Yeah. I don't know. I didn't touch that there.
That's okay. Well, it's 350-1. You don't need to go on.
Yeah. I'll give it that much thought too. In the middle of the board, I have a tough time walking away from a ball striker like Ryan Gerard. The guy's finished runner-up 3 events in a row. To me, the man seems like he's on a mission. And he's sitting right in that range with some other guys that have played very well here before and that started the season well, like Jake Knapp. A lot of people are going to say they want the number on Jake Knapp to be higher, but at the end of the day, the number is the number. And I'm trying to pick the winner for everyone at Read the Line. So, those are the types of guys that I feel like are putting themselves in position to win. Further down the board, all of these research models that I've done, there have been a couple names that keep popping up, and most of them are your Spawns or your Ludwigs, obviously your Xanders. I've seen a lot of Day and Scott and everything, but one name, because of the POA putting and the driver, is your boy, Gone with the Wind, Pearson Coody, right? He keeps popping up and popping up and popping up. Now, he continues to play relatively well. So the number should probably be triple digits, and it's not, but it's around 70. And that really attracts my attention.
I see it at 66 is the best number I can find. I've been holding off making this bet all week just in case I wanted to go to a Ludwig and then, I've run out of money at that point. Or do I take 2 guys in this middle range? If you're doing, I'll be blood brothers with you on Pearson Coody. He can do it. I have faith in Pearson Coody.
Yeah, and one of the things we've kind of overlooked today is that favorites don't win this event. it's kind of crazy because the golf course is super hard. It's a US Open venue. We make up all this about how long it is and everything. And then, over the last, 5 years, the average winners, pre-tournament winners odds is like 88 to 1.
Well, I'm trying to think back, and two of those are huge outliers. So Reed would have been, like 40, 50 to 1. I had Homa. He was 25 to 1 when he won. I had List. He was 90 to 1 when he won.
List was 90. Reed was 100, 125.
Reed was not 125. That's crazy talk. Was he really?
He was. Must have been in a slump or whatever. Man.
I can reference
from the internet.
I can reference the Pat Mayo newsletter to figure out what his odds were all
right. Pavone was 125. English was 80.
Reed was 25 to 1.
So that was a loose pencil stroke on my part.
Pavone was 125, and Harris English was 80 last year. But those are the closing odds as well. Like in the article, I have Luke List at 60 to 1. I recall betting him at 90 to 1. So.
Yeah, I had Luke List at 90, one over Zalatoris. Wonderful victory for the Read the Line faithful. The year before that, Leishman, 55. And then before that, you go on a run where it was a lot of favorite.
Rom.
But in the recent years, there have been some guys that get through because this skill set that's required here, the elite driving of the golf ball and the long iron play. And the guys, since Tiger doesn't come here anymore, it seems like the guys that are coming here are the guys that are good at that. And the other guys don't want to beat themselves up. They say, well, there's other options here. I can go to WMPO or I can go to Amex and I can do different things. So it's kind of like the better players that know they fit this golf course are targeting this on their schedule. And I think that's why we're seeing guys further down the board. So I think it's good to spread things out a little bit personally.
So if you're doing Cootie, I'm in with you. Cootie 66, let's chuck it on there. That will be in the newsletter. I'm going to be winning. If Cootie wins and I'm not there, I'm going to be very devastated on that. I didn't bet him last week, and I was like, I don't love this course for Pearson Cootie. I'll take some other dudes around there. I do like this one, so I will go with him at 66 to 1 with you. The other ones that I was looking at, what do you make of the Marco Penge, Rasmus Niergaard Peterson? Because you talk about course fits. Both these guys feel like great course fits. Even Wrighton, who was awful at the Sony Open, feels like he would be really good here.
I like RMP to continue his stellar play from back when he won in Australia. Penge concerns me because
sickness.
Why did he sit out? What was the sickness? I don't like sicknesses. Injuries, it's like you feel like there's a defined timeline to get better, and then you see rehab and it happens. Illnesses kind of scare me. What did this guy have? And what's going on there? That sort of thing. So I'll hold off on. Now, if Penge was healthy, Penge would be somebody that I would be all over at this place. I love Marco Penge, but you know that.
The other two, these odds have crashed. When the betting board opened, Theegala was 120 to 1. He's now down to 66 to 1. He's playing better golf right now, and he's always kind of showed up here, not as someone who's winning an event, but just kind of lurking on the leaderboard.
Yeah, I think he's a very good poet player. So I think that helps. The driver there being all over the map probably does not, where he could get away with a lot more at Amex, and he's not getting away with it here. That would be my biggest concern there. I'd let Sahith just slide on by. If I missed it, then so be it. I think he makes the cut. I think that he has a decent tournament, but to win top 10 or so, I think with how loose his driver is, that I've seen it this year live in person, that would give me great pause.
Three more guys, maybe four, that I want to get your take on here because I don't know what to do with them. One is JJ Spawn, who you mentioned, because every time I run a Model 2, JJ Spawn pops off the charts.
And his history there is not very good.
It's okay. It's an okay history.
It's a new man's JJ Spawn. So I'm in this world where I'm trying to decide whether I want to bet Jason Day or JJ Spawn.
Okay, But if we throw all these things and make them equal, because Spawn's at 27, McNeely's at 33, Day's at 30. You said Ryan Gerard, Knapp's down to 35 to 1 now. Chris Goddard,
Gerard's like 45 or 50 though. He's
Gerard's 32 to 1. I'll find the best odds in the world right now on Ryan Gerard. His number is silly right now.
That's a low number. Last I saw it this morning, it was in the mid 40s.
32 to 1 is the best number.
So he's been bet down heavily.
Yeah, I mean, he was there yesterday too. People jumped on Gerard early. He opened at 50, and then it was just gone.
Well, okay.
You got in early. That's what you need to do. It's like the Nikolai Højgaard number. It opened at 75. I missed it. I bet it at 66. That's down to 50 now.
Whew. Smoke. You know what? Gerard will bounce back. That number will bounce back.
I don't think it will. People are in on Ryan Gerard this week.
Well, I tell you what, he's proven that he could actually roll the rock a little bit. And,
sure, but right now you can bet Goddard for a higher number than you can bet Ryan Gerard. Like Goddard just won, and if you had to ask anyone the prototype for this course, isn't it him?
Man, I'd like to see a little bit better approach player from long distance, but certainly the driving of the golf ball would fit, and the kid can score. There's no doubt about that. Is he this year's Ben Griffin? Is he going to win 3 times? Chris Goddard twice in the first month? Seems like a stretch. I'll go back to my conversation about JJ Spawn and Jason Day. I keep waffling between these two. What's going to basically end up happening is I'm going to pick one over the other, or I'm not going to bet either of them, and I'll do something else. So, but both of them make a lot of sense here. And I mean, someone could talk me into either of them or out of them, and I could see it. I mean, this is like the prototypical golf course for a JJ Spawn now that he's hit this next echelon in his career. And when you start to talk about a guy that launches it to the moon, hits it left to right, has a great short game, likes to make putts, has won here twice, Jason Day makes a lot of sense. And Jason Day gained more strokes tee to green last week than Scotty Scheffler did.
Well, we don't really know that. We don't really know that. We only have 2 rounds
on
of
the
data.
stadium course for 36 holes. He did.
Yes, no, absolutely. I'm trying to think of Spawn here. Like his approach play was pretty mediocre at the Sony. He couldn't really putt. Maybe it's just a warm-up event. Who knows for him? The results have come along. I would rather go with JJ Spawn than Jason Day. That's where I would fall.
That's where I feel.
Because I've been between Goddard and Spawn as like the other 30s-ish guy that I want to get to. And it's if you like Spawn and I like Spawn and we both have other guys, I'm good with just saying I'll go with Spawn.
I'm good with that too. I'm good with that too. I feel like Day, with all the hype around him, is like it's just a classic missed the cut by a stroke, and everyone takes him one and done, and they just get absolutely knifed right there.
Spawn
right
was back. T15 at this event a year ago, and so he's bookended his T15 and then his debut start at the Farmers, he was T9. So he does check off that elusive box that you're always looking for of 14 of the past 17 winners have a previous top 10 at the Farmers Insurance Open. JJ Spawn qualifies.
I wasn't looking for that elusive box currently, but I'm glad that you brought it up and that he checks that box for sure.
So that's kind of it. So Cootie and Spawn, I guess, are my final 2 adds to it. Keegan was the other one that was floating around who has sustained a lot of success over the past 15 years in this tournament, yet I can't ever remember him actually challenging to win the tournament.
I feel the same way about it. And I think Keegan's going to continue to play very solid golf, but the elite level of winning, and I don't see it for Keegan this week.
Hey, Keegan's like one of 3 guys who I think has won 4 straight years on tour and loves a good, hard golf course.
He does. Well, he's got a great short game. He finds ways to get the ball in the hole on the green, and he puts the ball in play off the tee. I mean, those 3 things right there. Relatively high ball hitter. He's left to right off the tee. I mean, he checks a lot of boxes, which is why he's had a ton of success here. I can't argue against it, Pat. I'm just not going there.
Well, statistically lining up, and it's funny because I ended up betting Keegan. I went through this for the U.S. Open last year. Like, there's only X amount of guys that hit the ball a certain like threshold of distance, yet also have the same amount of accuracy. Like Scotty was clearly number 1. There's 4 guys on the list. Don't remember who number 2 was, but then it was Keegan and Spawn. And I bet the other 3 and then didn't bet JJ Spawn because I'm an idiot and I like losing money. But the profile for Spawn has just become better Keegan Bradley.
They both have 1 major. When it's all said and done, they might have a very similar career. I mean, Keegan's won a lot, man. Especially recently.
I'm just talking about what their profile is in 2026. Like the skill set, and you line them up next to each other. Spawn just kind of does everything that Keegan does, but slightly better now.
Confidence of a recent major. I also,
San Diego State guy.
Yeah. California guy. Definitely can score on POA. He's proven it there a couple times. Um,
Let's
what
do
was
it.
it? The summer of 24 is when JJ got it back. So he went a little bit on walkabout through 23 and early 24 where JJ was awful. And, we used to love to bet him all the time, especially the fall run. The guy just because he ball strike the heck out of it, couldn't putt. And then all of a sudden in the summer of 24, his numbers go absolutely through the roof. And then he rolls into 25 and he has a career year. Guy makes it on the Ryder Cup, wins the US Open, so on and so forth. There's no signs to me that guy is going to stop anytime soon. So that would be interesting for us to kind of monitor as the year goes on. Those two guys head to head because they are very similar. Keegan does hit the ball a little bit higher, which may suit this place a little bit better.
That makes perfect sense to me. I think the short game for Spawn, at least in the past 12 months, has been very, very good. And if you want someone who hits the ball left to right, you found your man.
Oh yeah, for sure. Him and Alex Noren. I mean, there's no fans on the left in the left gallery that are going to get hit there. No way.
So I'll add Cootie, and I'll see if the Spawn number can get a little bit better than 28. But I think I'll be on that. If it gets to 30, it's going to be an auto bet. I don't envision it going down at any point in the next 12 hours. So on the live show and in the newsletter, you'll see the final results of that. And maybe I'll throw together that top 40 parlay as well. Last few things. Can you explain to me what it is about, especially the California POA, that is so much different than even the Northeast POA? My course is a POA course. I'm in the upper Northeast of the continent. But what makes this one so much different than what we see on the East Coast?
All right. So the easiest difference to explain is temperature. So when we play Northeast POA, it tends to be much warmer. It's the summertime, because of the length of our season. So we don't tend to play a ton of POA during tournament golf in the Northeast or in the North, as these guys are this time of year, where it's much more of like a maritime climate, where it's in the 50s to 70s range, and the grass is a little bit cooler and everything. So the seed heads on the POA has seed heads no matter what. But when it gets really hot in the summertime up here in the Northeast, the POA all burns out. And then it becomes a grass that you can cut very, very, very low. You can make it very, very firm. It can deal with drought conditions. It's a very, very hardy grass, and you can make super, super slick surfaces like you would see at a place like Bethpage. You come out here, and Torrey is always, and all these coastal places are always, they're never like 90 degrees, and the POA doesn't burn out all the way. So then you're always going to get those seed heads in the afternoon. So you're going to get a much more bumpy, spongy, so that you get what's called the lumpy dugout. Or lumpy duck. Oh boy, that's going to get me in trouble. The lumpy donut around the hole. All right. So everyone, as you play, as the day goes on, everyone takes one step near the hole and they reach down to get their ball out of the hole. That ball of your foot, that front foot, makes a depression. And over the course of the day, it makes a donut around the hole. So what happens is it works like a speed bump. And when you have things like POA, it gets really, really bad because POA tends to be a spongy surface when it's at this temperature and it's alongside water like this. So that's why you see so many putts get deflected when you're watching places like Torrey or Pebble or venues of that nature. I mean, that's why it happens. And you don't see that in the Northeast. It's still a very similar strain of grass, but it's two different temperatures and it's two different, totally different performance style of surfaces because of that temperature. And then when you start to look at things like POA is a good grass for all of this. It's hardy. You can mow it very, very low. So POA trivialis is another strain of that they tend to put into Bermuda that is like an overseed for, your Scottsdales, your Sawgrasses, your Valspars, and all of those different places. And that's almost something that's totally different. It's a very, very fine grain of grass. Doesn't ever get into the growing conditions where you're going to have to deal with those seed heads. It's almost perfect. It's pretty much like bent or Northeast POA. Very, very almost no grain to pull the ball like you see on Bermuda. So that would be the biggest difference between the three from an agronomic sense.
All right, that's really cool. What did you see interesting at the PGA show that you were at?
Oh boy. There is so much technology coming into golf, which I think is really, really cool. I mean, I've been a golf geek my whole life, and to see that there's not just like one style of Bluetooth, golf cart speaker that has GPS and music and, all sorts of different functions to have like 7 companies doing that, to see all of the Titleists and, the FootJoys of the world, the very traditional companies, to try to adopt some new technology, whether it's their clubs, their golf balls, the research and development they're doing into their shoes, to see the reinvention of Nike coming back, and the Nike Shield was kind of cool. The clothing companies that are coming in, if you're into like kind of just like hanging out, like I guess like beachy style clothes. You don't just have to like look at the West Coast brands anymore. You're seeing brands like a Faraday, or even somebody like a Grayson is like kind of making clothes more and more comfortable all the time. Like I wear Bedrati all the time. They weren't at the show, but I mean, this is just a beautiful like hoodie sweater that it's like comfortable. I just live in all the time. I mean, clothes back in the day were just so like stiff and non-functional, and now they're like hyper functional. It's really, really cool to see. There's just so much talk about technology, personal launch monitors. We saw this, Joe and I were walking around and we saw this one personal like launch monitor, and it was like the coolest little thing. It was like $1,500, and it had every number that like a TrackMan would have, and you could carry it with you. It was small enough to go in your bag. Maybe it was like 5 pounds, so it's a little heavy, but it would fit in your bag and you can carry it. You could set it right up on the range, and it was like, as nicer than a Rapsodo, but it wasn't like a TrackMan, and you could afford it. I mean, those types of things in golf show how popular it is, and the advent of people like LeBron and others, giving us their attention. The whole thing's like, I mean, if Taylor Swift took up golf, I mean, the golf world would probably just implode. It would just like, it's just too much. The show, this was my 27th PGA show that I've attended, and it was like back to the Tiger boom days, like times 5. That's how much excitement was going on down there. And Pat, it's a golf geek convention. There was a lot of cool things going on. People are hyped up on golf, and it's, as someone who's been in the game my whole life and took on this crusade for golf betting, I couldn't be happier, because people are wondering what we're up to. They're very excited about it.
You mentioned to me privately that what we're doing is a lot different than what most people are doing.
Oh, yeah. I would say I was the only one walking the floor that would have been talking about, everyone's talking about YouTube golf. Barstool had a booth there. Good had a booth there. So that's a sign of the times. But there's no one there talking about golf betting. I mean, Joe and I were the only ones from a media sense that would have been there talking about all those different things. And, everyone from, Shipsticks to Bushnell to Titleist to anyone else, they're all very curious what we're up to. So my advice to you and everyone else out there that listens to this is that do everything you can to continue to push our ecosystem, because people are paying attention, and golf is slow to adapt. I know we are like 3 or 4 years, at least 5 years behind the NFL or the NBA when it comes to betting, but it is coming, folks. And when it does, I mean, it is going to be so much fun for all of us.
I love your optimism. 5 to 10 years behind. The scoring for golf is like waking up and getting the USA Today the next day to see the box scores. That's the level of technology they're at.
I mean, one of my very good friends he worked a long time for the NBA, and about 2 years ago, this was like the most golf thing ever. I don't know if I've ever told you this story, but the PGA Tour was like, hey, we're going to bring in all these creators, not the Creator Classic. This was after that. It was like, we're going to make a creator council. This is what we're going to do. And it was like a big press release and everything. And I was like, oh, that's makes sense, I guess, or whatever. I was like, so I was curious. I talked to my friend and I said, like, you've been around the NBA for like 15 years. I go, did you guys must have done this. I go, how long ago did you do this? He said, 1998. I was like, okay. To your point, I don't even know what to say to that, but I do have questions for you.
Let's get to them. Let's hear
We can have some fun with that. Everyone that waits to the end, they're going to get a treat, because they're going to learn more about Mr. Mayo. All right, here we go. Drum roll. Number 1, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the lowest, 10 being the highest, where do you rate the Farmers?
7.5.
Wow. All right.
I love this tournament. It is the first real golf tournament of the year every year. And I know that there's a collection of people that don't like Torrey Pines. It's really boring because I don't even go outside and I just look at it and I think that's boring to watch. Like, fuck off. Like, it's It's a hard course. You're getting a pretty good field. It's the appetizer to what's to come here in the next 2 months. I find it very exciting. Like, you can have your Amex. That's like a preseason game. This is a real event.
I mean, honestly, I've been to both. I mean, I was at both last year. I would much rather go watch a golf tournament at Torrey than Pebble Beach with these
Really?
guys. Oh yeah, I would much rather. They just destroy that place. It's not any fun to watch, really. I mean, it's beautiful. Don't get me wrong. I mean, they're both very beautiful. Carmel by the Sea. I mean, it's crazy. Stillwater Cove, everything. The whole thing at Pebble is really, really cool. The vibe is cool. But if you're just talking about the golf courses and the competition, and I'm not saying 70 in the field and no cut or anything. I'm just saying, like, when they put the guys on the South Course versus Pebble Beach golf links, I mean, I would much rather be on property watching those guys like get really tested at Torrey. That's just one man's opinion.
You get Torrey and you get Bay Hill. Those are really the only two events. And I guess the Dubai Invitational, where it predicts the Masters winners, and at least it did like twice 10 years ago. We'll see if Reed wins this year. But these are the two major warm-ups. Like, you see how well guys do at these courses, and then you get a sense of like, oh, okay, can they play a U.S. Open? Can they play at the Masters? Because the cream tends to rise to the top at these places.
I'm excited the Blue Monster's back. And I hope they give it a ton of teeth down at Doral, because that golf course used to have some really good tournaments. So that would be one that's new that I can't wait to go to this year. I've been to Doral many, many times. So like, I'm excited to go back to that and see Gil's work. And I haven't been there since Gil redid it, but that's much like this in Bay Hill. And I love events like that. Riviera is good like that. Good, hard golf courses, test these guys. But a test for you. Question number 2 there, Mr. Mayo. Would you go hang gliding off the cliffs there at Torrey Pines?
Nope. I did hand gliding and parasailing when I was in Aruba like 2 years ago.
Yep.
I'm not a huge fan of height. I don't know who is a huge fan of heights, but my wife really wanted to do it, but she didn't weigh enough to do it by herself. So I was like, all right, I'm in. I know that you want to do it. I will suck this up and go do it. It was fucking terrifying.
Oh, I was terrified watching that Netflix show the other night. Alex Honnold climbing that building. That was giving me like, that was driving me nuts.
And my wife's up there spotting stingrays. And I'm just like, I'm looking forward. You got to stop talking to me. That feeling that I guess is when you first go on a roller coaster, when you first start going on them, and your stomach just drops. But eventually you just get used to being on a roller coaster. And maybe parasailing would be, and hang gliding would be exactly the same way if you did it enough times. But it was just that feeling for 15 straight minutes.
Yeah, no good for me. I don't like heights. What's your favorite dessert?
Cheesecake? I don't really eat dessert.
This one's going to seem kind of obvious, but Patrick Rogers or Mav McNeely this week?
Mav McNeely.
If you could be a host of any game show, what would it be?
Ooh. I think I would be a really good host of Match Game.
I've never heard of Match Game.
Yeah. From like the 70s.
What was the theme of it?
It's the fill in the blank type game. There's like 6 celebrities. You're reading the question. Johnny wants to blank his dog, and then they have to fill in what the blank is. And then it's just like riffing with the celebrities.
All right. Yes, you would be very good at that. Winning score. I said that Vegas set the number at 13.5. Is it going to be over or under this week?
I like the under. I like minus 15.
Okay.
Also, something that people get wrong when they bet over unders on winning scores. Remember that if it's like lower, if it's minus 15, that's actually lower than minus 13. People get that confused.
Yeah, I always put it to par, but it's 274.5. So, you would say under 274.5. Yeah. But that was a good PSA there. A lot of people bet that the wrong way. Have you ever been in the Pacific Ocean?
Yes.
Where?
In Huntington Beach. And Huntington Beach and Cabo. I was there. In Panama. I was on both.
Biggest pet peeve in the airport or an airplane?
I was going to say standing up the moment that the plane lands when you're not near the front, but like that's bad. But like, I get it. People need to stretch. It's not for me. It's when people bring the smelliest, nastiest shit onto a plane that they buy in the terminal, and then they open it up when they get on the plane, and it just fucking reeks. Like, eat that at the restaurant. Don't bring that shit on the plane.
People take the shoes off all the time now. Drives me nuts.
I don't mind that as much.
Well, you just said you don't like smelly things on the plane.
I don't. Like, are people not showering?
2 words, hygiene. All right, one more question for you. Does Brooks make the cut this week at the Farmers?
No.
Yes or no?
No plus
No.
250 or 150.
I'm with you. No, I think he misses the cut. All yours, my friend.
Readtheline.com. Keith Stewart, when is your final pre-post coming out, and when do you hit everyone up with the Fast Five on Friday?
Okay, so tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., the PGA Tour, that newsletter will go right out to your inbox. 9:30, first time this year, LPGA gets sent. And, the Friday Five always hits the social channels on Friday morning, especially on a Pacific Coast tournament. Very difficult to get that all done at about midnight. So we do it in the next morning. You'll see it by about 10 a.m. Eastern time. And then the same thing with the Saturday card, the betting card, the Sunday betting card. And then I'll roll right back on through to the final word a week from today, my friend.
Who are we betting at the LPGA?
Oh, boy. Great spot for Brooke Henderson. Saw her hitting some shots at TGL last week.
20 to 1?
Before I went on down here, she's 25.
All right.
Which is
well,
a good number.
you have to remember the Canadian books will just rug pull you on Canadians.
Yeah. Lake Nona Golf and Country Club, where they played this event the last couple of years, very good ball striking golf course, and it's going to be super cold. It's going to be very cold over the weekend. I like a Canadian to not be bothered by all of that. She's won there before. She's very comfortable there. And believe it or not, as a Canadian, Brooke is really, really good on Bermuda grass and Florida events. Her career record in Florida is really, really strong. And if you think that it gets sticky with the guys as far as who putts well in Bermuda or who plays well in Florida, it's like 2x sticky with the ladies. I mean, if somebody is good in Florida, you want to bet those people, and Brooke is one of them. She's definitely one of my picks for this week at the Hilton Grand Vacations Tournament of Champions, Pat.
So take Keith's advice. Bet the stickiest women you can find.
Yeah, I regret that.
Is there anyone else besides Brooke?
I'm done.
That will do it on the Pat Mayo Experience. Smash the like while you're here. Follow Keith on X and join readtheline.com, betsportsgolf.com to get in on the rabbit hole. And leave a rating and review on the Pat Mayo Experience. That always goes a long way. Tell some friends because people are really enjoying the show. I'm enjoying being a part of it. I know the entire audience is enjoying Keith, so let Keith know, all right? I'll see you next time.
Pat Mayo Experience! Experience!